Hello, this is Abby Jamison with my program objectives final self-assessment. For the project, I prepared a training manual, a trainer's manual to go along with it, assessment surveys, and a PowerPoint presentation. I prepared these for Rocksteady Boxing Rocky Mount at our local YMCA. The YMCA is my employer, and I am a head coach for the Rocksteady boxing program. Rocksteady is a boxing program used for Parkinson's patients to help with their coordination, stability, movement, and cognition. As part of my research, I discussed with other head coaches, with physical therapists, with patients, and with caregivers of the patients, both the disease and the benefits of the boxing program. More than even the benefits, I really learned how this disease affects the patients and affects their loved ones. I really was able to take the time and get to know them, but it also created empathy within me. So for behavior, social, cultural, individual, and unique, I really feel like it encompassed all of that. I was able to see how the disease really does affect their behavior, even their thought processes. And mostly it probably changed my behavior and my view towards even the disease and the program. It was interesting. We had current volunteers that I discussed the disease with, and those with medical backgrounds, even those that were caregivers or spouses of those suffering, carried more hope than those who did not have that medical background, even though they know what the future holds. Objective number 2, to develop knowledge and skills of research. There was a ton of research involved in my project. There were not really any statistical measurements that I had to take, but the first several weeks were devoted solely to research. One big thing that I learned is that you really need to narrow your focus. I started with straight Parkinson's and the signs and symptoms, and got thousands of hits. And so then I went to Parkinson's and exercise, and even that I needed to narrow down to Parkinson's and forced intense exercise such as cycling or boxing to really narrow down my field of research. Of course, we had that CLA Plus paper that we worked on, which again reinforced that research is not black and white, straightforward. It's easy, especially when I started researching that, and there's so much information on it. So that really just reinforced narrowing down the topic, what I'm really looking for. Another thing actually with that CLA assignment that I appreciated, it was for me the hardest assignment of the semester, but it really helped me realize that I can take something hard, and by really focusing on it and doing the research, I can narrow it down and break it down into parts that are understandable to me. Also, it was great for helping to develop critical thinking skills. Again, just realizing I can't take all of it and make a really long paper or a really long presentation about it. I really needed to hone my critical thinking skills to get to the nitty-gritty, what was really important in that. Objective number 3, develop knowledge and skills of theory, research, and applications. My project involved a training needs assessment, which was done before this semester started. My project delved a little bit into performance appraisal, just really we do need the volunteers to be at a certain standard. However, I did not include any levels of measurement. That wasn't really part of my training. It did maybe a little bit involve a little bit of HR training and development. Not that I'm working with employees, but I am working with volunteers who needed to learn some basic training, specifically in safety measures. Objective number 4, to develop knowledge and skills of theory, history, research, and applications. I did quite a bit of research into teams and also worker/volunteer motivation for this project. A lot of the volunteers come because they have a loved one suffering from Parkinson's, but there's a lot that come just because they want to help. A lot of it is wanting to give back to the community or seeing a need and filling it, that really embodies the mission of the YMCA. So it was really neat to have people watch us as we're either doing the program or as I'm talking with these clients and come to me and tell me that they want to be part of the next training, which was really awesome. As far as teams and groups, that is ongoing. I'm figuring out between myself, being a head coach, them being volunteers, how to really motivate them and how the dynamics really work, so that I'm not either taking over too much, I'm giving them enough responsibility, but I'm still keeping it safe for everyone involved. That should say objective number 5. Objective number 5, to develop skills necessary to function as a professional in diverse situations. I struggled with this one a little bit as my boss. My project was done for my boss, and our workplace is very informal. Getting him to respond to emails is like pulling teeth. So I had to summarize our conversations instead. I did appreciate the opportunity to do my practicum project at my place of work. It certainly made it easier on me. I'm not recommending or suggesting that future students have to find some place outside of their place of work, but I do feel that I would have gained greater professional skills at a location outside. Objective number 6, develop an understanding of the ethical, legal, and diversity issues related to the practice of IO psychology. This is another one where I probably learned more from the case study than from my actual project. I struggled with this case study as we were supposed to focus more on the training rather than the actual issue of diversity. Some things that I learned that really stuck out were that the issue of diversity training is probably really not the issue at all. Of course, it can be at some places, but I learned the issue is probably really more an issue of culture and the values that culture embodies or allows. And also that communication is key, it's critical, and most organizations are probably either lacking the skill or lacking the knowledge or really just not enforcing or trying for greater communication. I also learned that creating teams that are working towards a common goal really helps to kind of like bypass the ethical, legal, and diversity issues. By saying it helps bypass ethical or legal issues, I think that if we're in a team and we're treating each other with respect and honor and our lines of communication are open, that ethical opportunities, or really legal opportunities such as sexual harassment or racism, the chances of that happening will be lessened. Additional learning objectives, gain a greater understanding of training and training development. This is really one area that we did this class with Professor Palmer, and I absolutely loved it. It's one of my very favorite classes, and so I was really excited to be able to create a training and a trainer manual for this project. I did realize that doing it in real life is a lot more difficult and a lot more involved than doing it for a class. So that was one great big thing that I learned. I also learned I was maybe able to procrastinate a little bit in class with Professor Palmer. That was a very bad idea. I had one week where I wasn't able to do much. I took my daughter to camp and I came back and I was so overwhelmed. And so I really learned the value of having a timeline, sticking to it, and really just trying hard to stay on top of those goals and, set times that you've set for yourself.